Welcome to a special Mother's Day Bible study. And so if you have a Bible, grab that. I especially want to say Happy Mother's Day to my mom and my wife, Anna. And so so it's special honor of you two women. Okay, the magnificence of motherhood. Before we get into the Bible, I want to open up with a question. What is the most important, the best gift that you've received? And who gave it to you?
Can I
Okay, Nancy.
I got one year, it was made out of plaster, and it was a small handprint in the plaster. So I got that for Mother's Day. So I have a handprint. This is when my littlest was, or my youngest was small. So that was pretty neat. I like that one.
Wonderful.
Well, I got.
Anyone? Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
I got a daughter 66 years ago
Yeah.
from God. Perfect. That was my best gift. Well,
Beautiful.
I have two sons. They're gifts too, but.
But they're afterthoughts.
Hey, just what we were talking about before.
Is your daughter's name Julia Grace?
No,
With the two brothers?
no. No, she was the firstborn and then two brothers.
Oh, I see.
All right.
I'd like to say the best thing that I ever got was from my mom, who taught me about Jesus.
There's a special bond with mothers. When young men are dying in combat, they're crying out for their mothers.
Yeah.
Wow, these were
Yeah.
all really good answers. Very special things that we've received, and as I've been thinking about this question, there is nothing more basic than the gift of life. And so for that we thank our mothers. We thank our mothers. Giving the best gift. Everything else is contingent upon life. Everything else. Because if you're not alive,
Kind of hard to
nothing else matters. And so, and even, and I'm going to push this even a little further. Even eternal life is contingent upon first receiving biological life. You know, as Scripture says first, it's not the spiritual that comes first, but the natural. The natural comes first, and then the spiritual. 1 Corinthians 15. And so so how I'll answer this question is the greatest gift that someone can receive is life itself. They received from God through their mother. Through their mother. And fathers are important too. I'm not, we'll celebrate Father's Day next month, but today focusing on mothers. So mothers give the best gifts. Life, and they give lots of other gifts too, as mothers tend to do. Anyway, so just kind of want to frame the conversation that way. The blessing of motherhood. The blessing of giving life. That's the highest. That's the highest. There's nothing more important. There's nothing better than that. Okay, so let's get into the Bible. I have several passages that we'll take a look at, and seeing how the conversation goes. We might not get to all of them. But let's first start with Genesis chapter 1. And we'll begin at verse 26. And we'll take that through 28. Genesis 1, 26 to 28. Of course, this is in the creation account. Sixth day of creation. So let's pick it up at verse 26. Does somebody want to read that? Okay, go ahead, David.
Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground."
All right. So we have God's beautiful creation, and on the sixth day, the pinnacle of his creation, he creates man, male and female, in his image. We are God's image bearers, and he blesses them and gives the command, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth." The first blessing God gives, the first command God gives, is to be mothers and be fathers.
Go multiply.
Yes.
So every time we look in the mirror, we're looking at God. Is that what they're saying?
When properly understood, yes. No, that's a good point. And there's all kinds of scholarly debate. Well, what is the image of God? What does the image of God mean? So there's a long history of scholarship regarding that. But the most basic, the simplest way of understanding the image of God is that God has put man as his representatives to all of creation. So God created everything, but he put man in charge. And so that's exactly what he says. So after making man, after saying, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." So there's certainly a lot of room to say that the image of God includes other things, but its most basic sense means that man is God's representative, viceroy, etc. That's how important we are. God put us in charge of all his creation. Were you gonna say something, Bill? Okay. So we have this first blessing, this first command: "Be fruitful, multiply," and so this goes right along with, well, what does it mean to be a mother? To have children. This is and the sad thing is that our culture doesn't value mothers the way the Bible values mothers.
Or life.
And valuing mothers and valuing life go hand in hand. Being a mother is the greatest thing that a woman can do. It's wonderful. Now, we recognize, with sensitivity, for various reasons, not all women become mothers. Not all women get married, or even those who are married not able to become mothers, and so we grieve. We grieve that loss. But I think we do a disservice to life. We do a disservice to mothers if we treat mothers, if we treat children or procreation anything lower than how God treats it.
But there is a dichotomy in our society. We don't recognize or allow for the biological role that women and men have. That is to say, the idea of childbearing, raising children, and so on is almost antithetical. Go to work.
Right.
And at the time that we went to school, I think of Burnett, she took a lot of the homemaking courses and so on.
Mac was.
Yeah, that was
Sure.
learn to
Yeah.
sew, and learn how to manage. It was more than just learn how to sew or how to cook something. It was how to manage a household. And we
Yes.
treat that with total disrespect. There's
Right.
something wrong with a woman if somehow
Right.
she elects to do that.
Right.
And I think that's so
And
sad.
and think of a lot of young women feel this pressure to gotta have a career and things like that, and when a lot of them I want to be a wife, I want to be a mother, and yet in a lot of ways society looks down and saying, well, like that's somehow second class.
Well, a long time ago, when women had children, they stayed home. A career was not really, unless they absolutely had to go to work. But nowadays, the thing is, the women working, then they have their children, and then they put them in the care of someone else. And they do feel, I think a lot of them feel badly about that, having to go back to work and
Sure,
give their child,
sure,
their
sure.
baby, to somebody else
Sure.
for 8 hours a day.
Yeah, and so, and I want to thank you, Mom. You made the decision to stay home, with me when I was born, and how precious that was to have you at home as a child. Thank you. Yeah, and there's we could spin off in all kinds of directions and kind of lament the decline of the family. It's not really not trying to put a particular blame on a particular person, but at the very least we should lament.
Well, they're hard choices that you make. A lot of people like to keep up with the Joneses or want to keep up. I know when my mother didn't work, we didn't have any money.
Yeah.
It was that simple. We had 4 kids, 6 of us, 4 kids, and didn't have a pot to pee in. When I reached 14, my mother felt comfortable leaving the younger children in our care of my sister and I, and we were fine. She became a senior executive with her. She did very well, but it was really tough, and that's not
Right.
changed today. If you're an ordinary couple and your wife isn't working, there are going to be economic sacrifices that you're going to make.
Sure.
There are good things that are going to happen, but also there's sacrifices there.
Sure, right. And how sad it is when people value the material things over children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the new Corvette looks mighty nice.
In the
If your kid
streetcar
in jail
garage.
doesn't look so good.
Details.
Okay. All right.
I think our society fails to recognize that motherhood isn't a career in itself.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I heard something on the news just yesterday, and I didn't hear the whole story, but the words that caught my ear were birthing people,
Yes.
Yes.
not mothers.
Right.
It's a
Birthing
congresswoman.
people.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think it was from an overseas country, but the far left liberals, that's, there's no gender, you want to get rid of gender,
Mhm.
but if you want to change your gender, well, that's okay. Or you want to pick your gender, that's okay. But you can't be called a mother, you're a birthing person.
Right. I heard the same thing.
Yeah,
Trying
that's
to change the language and the meaning of life through language. And
Yes.
That's a continuous assault on us.
yeah. Okay. Well, let's go to Proverbs 31.
I was hoping you did that one. That's one of my.
You knew where I was going.
Yeah, that's
Proverbs
one of my
31.
favorites. One of my favorites. The good wife.
Yes. Verses 10 through 31.
Not the one on TV.
That's right.
All right. Does somebody want to read those verses?
How far did you say from 10?
10 through 31, through the end of the chapter.
I can
Okay,
read
go
that,
ahead, Bob.
Sure. An excellent wife who can find. She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. She is like the ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar. She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. She puts her hands to the distaff, while her hands still hold the spindle. She opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hand to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household are clothed in scarlet. She makes bed coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes fine linens and sells them. She delivers sashes to the merchant. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates.
Okay, this is a beautiful passage.
Is that Proverbs 31?
Yeah, Proverbs 31.
31.
Yeah, and this is a woman who's managing and doing stuff. It's not
Really?
some little
That's
shrinking
right.
violet. Oh dear, what can I do next?
This is the all-American woman here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Industrial strength woman.
Yeah.
She's got
Mean,
it
spiteful,
together.
razor-toed woman,
She's
maybe.
got the
This is-
household all together.
this
She's
is-
she's making money.
That's right. It's Solomon's wish list, right?
While her husband sits at the gate.
Making
I
all the
caught
big
that.
decisions.
I caught that. But she is the talk of the town.
Yeah, this is a beautiful passage. I think, as Scripture so often does, it challenges our presuppositions. You know, if one time I preached a sermon, I don't know if it was here. It was probably at St. Paul's. I don't remember exactly what I was preaching. I was something from the Gospels. I was preaching about Jesus, so that's okay. So a pretty good thing if you're preaching about Jesus. But I made the point of saying that Jesus doesn't fit into our categories. And so I said something along the lines that, you know, if you're a conservative, Jesus looks pretty liberal. If you're a liberal, Jesus looks pretty conservative. That what and you know, if it's just fascinating because you know, Jesus defies all labels, and he defies the categories and things like that. And so in a lot of ways, you know, Scripture as you know, as a whole does that. There's going to be you know, there's going to be parts that are going to comfort us. There are parts that are going to challenge us. There'll be parts that are going to, you know, challenge our worldview, challenge our presupposition, you know, about all kinds of things, about God, about Jesus, about whatever. And so, and here in Proverbs 31, I think it's so beautiful because, you know, and just to use the liberal conservative spectrum, you know, wherever you fall politically or socially, you know, this is going to challenge our worldview. because on the one hand, as you already said, David, wow, this this is a woman who is doing stuff. She's
And managing. She's in charge.
managed. She's managing. She's buying stuff. She's making stuff. This is a working woman.
And gets no sleep, apparently.
Yeah, and so as
While we stand in lordly grandeur holding our spears waiting for a war to happen.
and so we have this very, very robust image of of a woman. Like I said, working woman, and and so I've heard so many so many people commenting on Proverbs 31, making the point, saying emphasizing that point. This is a working woman. This is who's doing stuff, which is right. But now there's the other side to that. Did you notice? Well, first of all, she's a wife. Now, what's interesting about the Hebrew language, the word for woman and wife is the same word. There's not a separate word. To be a wife necessarily means being a woman, but in the biblical worldview, to be a woman ordinarily means being a wife.
It's almost impossible economically at that time not to be. You were either in your father's household or you're in your husband's household. Women outside of that were considered, well, prostitutes, for example, or widows were outside. But most women, at least to start with, were going to start as a wife. That's the only way you could survive economically.
Right, and so you have this order. So she is a wife. She is a mother. And how many times? So her husband comes up a couple times here. Household comes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And specifically children comes up, 1 time. And so we have this, we have this, this ideal image of, of a woman, and we've got these both these aspects to it. She's robust, industrious, but for what purpose? For her household.
For her family.
For her family. And so like I said, so it's kind of however we're coming to this text, if it's this text is going to challenge us. What is the ideal picture of a woman? What is the ideal picture of a wife, of a mother? And so so the biblical portrayal avoids kind of both extremes, both.
But there's a core value, and the core value is respect. Too often we don't respect our mothers and our household managers as such, because, well, I earn the money in the family, so apparently money is what determines what's important.
Right. No, yeah.
And really, it's
So-
respect for motherhood and for wifehood that this kind of enshrines, if nothing else.
Right. And so husband and wife are complementary. And so the husband making the money or going out, let's say working outside the house, is no more important than the wife and the mother who is staying at home. Now this get off into the sidebar here. Talking about economics. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, the home was the center of production. The home. And so, so it wasn't like, the man goes out and makes the money so that the household can spend it. No, it's the whole household. It's the whole household working, and if it's and you know, particularly largely agrarian, the husband, the father, where is he working? Primarily at home, the fields, the animal, and so the home was the center. Not only was it the center of family home life, but it was the center of your economy, was the home.
That's true of the U.S. During
Right.
revolutionary times, over
Right,
90%
like I said,
of the
right.
population was in rural
Right,
agriculture.
prior to the Industrial Revolution, and so since the Industrial Revolution, our economy now the household is consumers, instead of being the producers. So that's kind of interesting. With industrial revolution, mass production, mass consumption, that makes me wonder how that kind of the kind of economy that we find ourselves in, how that naturally would tend to pit men against women, or to kind of split, take men out of the house and making the money, and no, it's anyway, I know I got off topic, but just kind of made me think of that. The home was the center of production, was the center of the economy, and so home life and work life were united. So
And
I don't,
maybe
so I don't know what was that?
Maybe reverting to that.
Yeah, with
Because
this kind of
people are
work
working
from
their
home.
And
Yeah.
it's more about intellectual products. We're automating our factories. We're automating manufacture. And what's happening is more and more women are moving into management and into technical areas like programming. And one area I've worked in all my life, which is in software development, women and men are relatively equal. They get the same pay, they get the same recognition, they work in teams. And they work from at home now. My son is in one of these
Sure.
groups. The whole team works from at home
Yeah.
as a team.
Yeah, and so it'll be interesting to see how, now that we are in a post-industrial economy, how that's going to change, and with technology, COVID, people staying at home, working from home, industrialization had brought a lot of good things to society, but it also brought a lot of bad things too. And so it'd be interesting if, as a culture, as a society, if we are able to, go back a little bit, pre-industrial, and to say and to maybe once again recapture the center of the economy being the home. Anyway.
Well, a long time ago, when baby girls were born, they were raised to be in the home, mothers, wives. That was their destination. But nowadays, when you have a girl, she can go out into the world and do technical or whatever.
Sure.
So you don't raise her to be a mother.
Yeah,
What
and
you-
that's that's unfortunate. Now there isn't anything wrong with women working. There's nothing wrong with women working. But there is something wrong with if the focus then gets diverted, away from the household. That's where the problem, comes in, and so one of the very beautiful things, about Anna, very much, raised and with an emphasis and with the desire to be a wife, to be a mother, and how attractive that is.
Well,
How attractive that is for a
I
man.
think this week on a television, they gave statistics about the population, and it's not as high as it was, that there were less babies born? Wasn't it this week? That there were less babies born this year or this month or whatever period they had. They said that the population is,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh.
it was because women are working.
Well, and we
And
kill
women-
60 million of them in abortions.
That's
and
right.
don't
Yeah,
either.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of factors
There,
in there.
yeah, there are all kinds of reasons for that, but yes, that's a very sad reality. And I've done research into this. I've got all kinds of things to say about that. I'll keep my comments brief right now. This will be a Bible study for another time. But yeah, if you look at, and this isn't just a United States thing. This is worldwide. There are some countries
Yeah.
that are naturally growing in population. But all countries are trending downward.
Yeah.
The fertility is going down. People are having less children, and
But we don't.
which is not, and this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable.
But we don't want to
And-
lose the
hold on.
contribution of women in those fields. Like my
Wait.
sister Roxanne
Okay,
was a physicist.
David.
And she decided to raise children.
Okay.
Others are doing the same thing. It's difficult.
And so so what we find ourselves, the situation is, well, this is a whole other topic. But I've got a good book to read if you're interested. If you're interested in demographics, but the United States, I mean, and Europe is even worse than the United States. Not having many babies, and the only thing that's keeping our population afloat is immigration. Because we are not having enough children to replace. We are below replacement level, and that's gonna catch up to us. That's gonna catch up to us. Anyway, all kinds of stuff. Going back to the Bible, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. Children are a blessing, and who knows what's going to happen, long-term United States or world populations. But I'll tell you this, even the United Nations, which is, it's the United Nations, they are projecting world population will start declining. World population will start declining before the end of the century. Studying the demographics, and all this, all the scares of the '60s about the world overpopulating, nonsense. Not anyway. Don't get me up on that soapbox, but